Paul, first of all, just Hope Breslin, how has she come through after last weekend's?
Yeah, really good. No concussion, and eye is obviously not back to normal, but it's open, and she's been training. She trained on Tuesday and she trained yesterday, so yeah, she's able to be selected, yeah.
Apart from the 2 long-term ones, everyone's available?
Yeah, everyone's available at this point. Macy's unwell this morning, so not here, so we'll have to just see how that goes, but everyone else is fit and available, apart from the obvious ones with Wiz and Liv with the ACLs.
Dare I suggest this week, it's the first real adversity this team's had this season, coming off the back of probably a disappointing result. Is this a week where you've probably learnt more about your team than you have at any point so far?
Yeah, I think whenever you go through kind of like a disappointing performance, don't get the result you want, then there's a bit of soul searching from everyone and what happened and why, and so you sort of really analyse what you were doing. So yeah, I think we've learnt a lot already about what we did not so good on the pitch and probably not so good off the pitch in terms of our prep, so we've learnt a lot from that, and this team's determined to bounce back tomorrow. Yeah.
So have you seen a reaction from the players this week?
Yeah, definitely. Good reaction, really positive. Training was great yesterday, so yeah, I'm feeling confident about this weekend.
ALeague Longo, is she in line to make her first start for the club this weekend?
Yeah, she's going really great. Obviously got more minutes last weekend, so yeah, we're hoping that we can get her some decent minutes this weekend and possibly a start.
What were the issues with the prep from your point of view?
Look, off the field, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We actually couldn't stay in Terrigal, so we had to stay in Sydney, and that meant like a sort of hour and 3/4 on the bus there before the game and back, and I think that was a lot when you add in the flying as well. Plus we had a short week, so a 3-day training week rather than a 4, and it just caught up with us in the end. So we'll learn a lot about that in terms of how we prepare for those longer away trips like Adelaide, Canberra, Newcastle Jets, etc. So that was good learning for us off the pitch, and like how we prepare with a 3-day lead-in rather than 4 training days. And then on the pitch, we just could not get into our rhythm. We tried, and there was no lack of effort, and we certainly persisted with what we were doing, but we just didn't get that freedom that we've had with the ball, and we weren't able to kind of break that first kind of point of pressure as often. And so we've got a few things lined up where we can make some tactical tweaks this week just to kind of help us get over that when we're playing against, particularly against the front two. Yeah.
Because how hard is that going to be when teams, they see what you want to do now, so they are going to start to want to counter that, and the Mariners countered that very effectively.
Yeah, they did.
Hard will it be to persist with what you want, how you want them to play?
Well, I think there's always evolution in the system. That was always the plan, but it's kind of when you introduce those next steps, like those extra little things that come in as part of the way that you're playing. And so we've done that this week, and we will do that at various stages throughout the season, keep building this playing model, because there are other things we can do. It doesn't have to be the same all the time. And it's just about finding solutions for the scenarios we encounter on the pitch, and we've worked through quite a few of those this week in terms of we've come up against teams that have like defend in 4-4-2 a lot and sort of press of a front two, and obviously we're being quite expansive with players going forward, so how we deal with that situation and how we can get a bit more security to progress the ball through. So there's just some little tweaks that we can do to help, I think.
On the Auckland franchise, we've already seen some comments here and there. It's getting a bit spicy already after 3 days. Do you think that'll be a good thing, that there's sort of a genuine spicy rivalry between these two clubs?
Yeah, I think so. Like I've kind of said right from the start, I think this is a good thing for everyone. It's nice to have like a rivalry, local rivalry if you like, in the league, because obviously we're quite different from all the Australian clubs. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I just think generally like it's just good for football in this country, for New Zealand. More people getting contracts, more local players like coming into the system, more opportunities to be a professional for local players, male and female. Better for youth development, because we might now have like 2 big academies across the country. So look, I think it's all positive things, and then if fans and kind of like that local rivalry can be involved in that, and it can kind of fuel a little bit of a local derby, I think that would also be quite cool as well. It's shown around the world that those derbies kind of captivate people and bring more crowds. So if that's what happens, then I think that's a good thing.
You be expanding your scouting network here?
Look, I think like the advantage that we have at the moment is we're obviously operating and we know about the leagues, and particularly in the women's space, like there won't be a women's team for the Auckland group next year, so we kind of still have like this year and next year to really kind of like solidify what we're doing with our players and our playing group. And then the challenge is for them to come in and to start from scratch a little bit like we had to do a few years ago, like the Mariners have done this year. So yeah, that's for them to work out, I guess.
You had 2 players contracted when you came in, so you
Yeah.
had to sign 20.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's another 17 out there, sort of who are ready to sort of step up, maybe with a bit of work to play at this level?
Yeah, not sure. It's a difficult one to ask. I mean, I think there is definitely like talent out there, and there's lots of young talent coming through. We see in Australia like they put these kids in quite early, and we haven't done that yet in terms of like 15, 16-year-olds. But there's the potential for that. But I also think there's loads of Kiwis playing around the leagues, and let's not forget they've had to go out and get those contracts because there haven't been options, or there's only been one option, and then up until this season that option only had a limited amount of spots. So I think what you'll probably find is a lot of these, particularly girls that are from Auckland and guys that are from Auckland that have gone off overseas, would like the idea to come back. So I think when you factor in that as well, there's more than enough room for the talent base we've got.
Just on your Football Ferns call-ups this week, how pleased are you to see some of those, especially the two first-time call-ups, Macy and Manaya?
Yeah, I think it's great. Just the recognition for the national team is something I think that they're all aspiring to. And as a club, you know, I think it's like shows that we have like some good quality coming through, because they've kind of like made this step up into the Football Ferns quite quickly. But yeah, generally speaking, like we want as many of those players to be able to go on and play international football as possible, because it's great for their careers. Like we're very supportive of that. So yeah, I think it's great, and yeah, really good news for the younger ones, and it'll be an experience for them, you know, going away and playing at altitude and playing one of the best teams in the world. So they'll come back and be better for those experiences.
There's obviously a bit of creativity deficit with the Ferns. I think that's well established. That makes players like Macy and Manaya appealing. But do you think, you know, they're ready, given, you know, they've played 5 weeks of professional football, to sort of go into that international environment?
I think they're ready to go into it. I wouldn't say that they'll be ready to perform at that level against the best teams in the world yet, because of obviously the infancy of their careers, so to speak. So from my point of view, I think it's like, let's just hold the expectations. I don't think Manaya and Macy are the saviours of New Zealand football. You know, we've got to put things into perspective. They're bright young talents, and they've done really well so far, but they've still got a lot of growth, and I think it will take time for them to really establish themselves at that next level up. They're still in the first part of establishing themselves at this level, so we just got to hold fire on some of our expectations around those two, but it's exciting for the future.
And just lastly on the Ferns, we've had confirmation of the dates for Olympic qualifying, which obviously Oceania in its infinite wisdom hasn't aligned that with the window. I know it's still a mandatory release period. How aware are you of sort of the implications that has for your side, sort of clashing with three of your matches, and you know, are you sort of hoping there might be some favours you can call on from NZ football?
I think we still have lots of conversation to have about that. We're very aware that the window is not ideal at all for us and the ALeague, obviously, and we've got some, I think, understanding about when we can't release players, or when we have to release players. So yeah, we need to have conversations with New Zealand football, with Yitka, and kind of what that looks like, because obviously we need to be prepared for our 3 games, but we also need the Football Ferns to qualify. So it's just a delicate balance that I'm sure we can work it through.
Do you know, like, is there any chance of you being able to get postponements if you had X number of players?
I don't know. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. I'll have to ask Pipes. He's the rules guy, so we'll ask him. Yeah.
So with Macy and Manaya, you're just meaning you don't want them to be rushed.
Yeah, and look, I've had some really good conversations with Yitka about that, and I think she's also very aware. Like, it's about kind of more preparing for them for the future, as opposed to like them coming in and helping them like win games in Colombia. So just the expectations, they've done really well. so far, but it's another jump up very quickly to international level, and then for them to be expected to kind of like perform and for people to kind of be thinking like they're the ones that are going to change the team. I think ultimately, like, there's a lot of good players in that football Ferns already. They've got to work their way into the team because they might not even get in it, and B, they'll need time to adapt to that level. So I don't think it's something that's going to happen really quickly, and we just need to be patient with them and trust in kind of like the process for the longer term, as opposed to hoping that they're going to suddenly solve all of the problems for that team.
Pretty impressive too that a player can play winger for you and defender for the national team.
I thought I might get brought up. Yeah. Oh, we had some fun.
How impressive you with that flexibility?
Yeah, no, we had some fun on social media with that yesterday, didn't we? But look, at the end of the day, the goal was to make Mania was very certain that she wanted people to know she wasn't a defender, and so I think I got that message across. Yeah.